walk you around the studio. I don't know. There probably is some way I could turn this around. Is that right, Amy? Can I flip my
Oh yeah.
screen? How do I do that?
Is it on it? I just pick it up and move it. It's probably what I would do.
Turn it around. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we can see.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to take them on a tour. I'm going to go to the door, and I don't know what they're seeing at the moment. So you'll just have to.
It's more towards the ceiling. We're seeing a lot more towards the ceiling. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect right there.
Okay. So if you walk into my studio, it's just an upstairs loft, and this is what it looks like. The room that I was sitting in and that we're walking through right now has a whole lot of student work. I have about 40 people who paint with me, adults, and they come one night a week, and they come and they paint. So when you're walking through this room and you're seeing things, what you're seeing are a lot of paintings in progress. Is it at an angle that they can see, Amy?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, all right. And then when I walk on into this room is the studio room, and it's probably a lot brighter to you. And it's set up right now for the people who are going to be coming this afternoon. And I have 6 people who will paint this afternoon. And if you look at the paintings that are in progress, some of the things that you will see will be, well, let's just take this one because it's about finished. This is Terry Mullins, and she's actually from Bullitt County. She lives in Mount Washington. And this is a scene in the mountains up in I think it's down around Gatlinburg, actually, but it's in the Smoky Mountains. And she's just about finished with it. And then as I come on over here, I have a still life, a close-up of a painting that is being done by Ruth Hamilton. And coming on around, this is Dixie's, and she started this. And you probably can't tell yet what it's going to be, but it's a knot hole in a tree. And she's got a bird inside of it. So hopefully she'll come back and do her bird today. And the one I'm walking past right now is actually one of my paintings from Ireland. Somebody took a picture. I have not been to Ireland, but somebody took this picture and sent it to me. And I thought it was just so beautiful. So I painted it. And then this is a farm scene. One of the things that people who paint a lot of times, what they will do is they will paint what's in the back of the picture first. So when you look at this, there's a pond and a field, and there are going to be 2 cows in it. And they're sketched, but I don't know if you can see it yet or not. Might be.
Oh, barely. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I know it's pretty hot.
It's really light drawn.
Okay. All right. And so walking on around this is my storage room. And I always tell people I'd like to say that I'm a little bit neater than this sometimes, but I'm not. This has got everything you could possibly want as far as making art. And it's where I keep supplies and people keep their paintbrushes and that kind of thing. So that kind of tours you around the studio. And I did skip the coffee maker, and which I'm about to get some coffee out. But that's basically the way that it looks. Right behind me here are people's paintings that they are working on. And I was told that I probably shouldn't get Amy's out, so I won't. But I just would show you this. I think this is kind of neat. Does anybody know where this came from? Anybody have any ideas about this?
Y'all put it in the chat. Where do you know where that came from? Hocus Pocus, I have one. Coraline, it's a movie. What else? Keep going. That's really good. Pet Cemetery. Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I don't know.
Those are great ideas. I can't wait to tell this artist. There's a painting, and I bet when I tell you, you'll remember it, or you will have heard of it, called Starry Night. It's called Starry Night. It's by Vincent van Gogh. And what's in the background is the moon, stars, and a sky where there's lots and lots of little swirls and thick paint and that kind of thing. the lady who painted this is like a cat, kind of a cat lady, and she loves cats. And of course, we're coming up on Halloween, and so a black cat's pretty perfect for this. So she put her black cat in this scene, and it's not done, but it's close. You could see enough of it to tell what it's going to be. So there are probably, yeah, behind me, there are probably 40 paintings that are underway. And it's just kind of exciting every week to have people come in and see what they can get done, and other people come in and look and see what their colleagues have done, and they get inspired by them and that kind of thing. So this is basically what I do up here. People come and paint mostly because they love to paint, mostly because they've got the time to do it, mostly because it's sort of, they love being around other people who paint. They like the experience of painting. And when I say painting, it could be drawing too. Some of the things that we do up here are it's not completely painting, but most of it is. I am not sure what all else you would like for me to talk about here.
Guys, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions for Miss Spalding? Put it in the chat and I'll read those out for you all.
We have a lot of really gifted young artists here at BVLA. I'm always amazed when I see how creative some of our students are. So maybe, you know, what is some advice for these young artists on how they can develop and what they can do to improve or get better or potentially have a career in art?
Well, I think everybody, Amy could probably tell you that I don't believe in talent. A lot of people think that, well, everybody, you know, you're just touched by God if you're an artist. You know, somebody just suddenly made you that, and I couldn't possibly be an artist. And I absolutely hate to hear people say, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, or, oh, everybody, you could probably teach anybody else, but not me. I can't do it. I'm just not good at this. And I don't think that's true. I think especially when you're children, when you're little, or you probably remember when you were little, say like under 10, but definitely 5 or 6 or 7 years old, I bet you that you love to draw. And then probably somewhere along the way, you saw somebody's work and you thought, man, that looks exactly like what it's supposed to be. His dog looks really good, and my dog looks a little bit bizarre or a little strange or like a pig or something like that. And so then you go, maybe this isn't for me. Don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. You just keep drawing, because you get better. You could sit in a room by yourself and draw and you'd get better. That's the truth. Now, it's a big help when you go on and you have someone who knows, who looks at your drawing, and I'll say, well, Amy, you know, that baby that you're painting, those legs are a little bit fat. Maybe you need to make them a little skinnier. Or I love the way that you did the hair on this. If you got somebody else who's an artist around and can advise you, a lot of times they see your mistakes and you don't. You know, sometimes you look at something that you do and you go, I know something's wrong with that, but you can't figure it out. And somebody else looks at it and they go, here's what it is. So that's one piece of advice that I would give you. However, I would also say, go and draw, paint, try to make art out of things that other people don't make art out of. You know, if you got a bunch of scraps around your house and you're trying to figure out something to make, put it together and make something, and don't be concerned about what other people think about your art, because you're making it for you. And almost everything I've done in my whole life, it was more fun doing it than keeping it. I probably have 3 pieces of art that I really want to keep. The rest of it, I think it's just, it's the experience of doing it that makes me happy. Now, if you've got an opportunity to take art at school, do, because you're going to learn things. You're going to learn stuff that you wouldn't figure out on your own. Like there's a technique, and you probably know it, but you can look it up after you get off here if you want to. But it's called linear perspective, and it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space, and it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space. And it's how you make a page look like that it's got deep space you've probably seen somebody draw a railroad or seen somebody draw a road. And after they drew it, it looked like that the piece of paper actually had depth in it. The first time I ever saw that, I thought, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I swear to you, I would have never figured it out ever by myself. But once somebody showed it to me, it was like, oh, that's so easy. That's so simple. Now, you got an advantage, or maybe it's a disadvantage, but I think it's an advantage for you in that you can go online and you can find everything. You can go to YouTube. Like if you want to put in fact, I'll give you my website in a little bit and you can go look at some of my work and some of my people's work and that kind of thing. But if you want to go to YouTube and you want to look at how to draw a race car, somebody's going to tell you step by step how to do it. They will have figured out the whole process and you can use that. And even my adults, they come in and they'll go, you know, I looked up this artist. This artist showed up on my Instagram and I love her work. So I started following it. And all she does is she does paintings of boxers, of dogs. And so they kept on going and going and looking at that. And then they had a boxer. And so they kept doing theirs. And there's just so much stuff out there now. And you know a whole lot more about what's out there than I do. There's also, there are techniques and there are materials that are kind of neat to have, but you don't have to have all the good stuff. You don't have to have all the expensive stuff. You don't have to have the 500 million trillion crayon set. You can do well with just the basics. We do something here in Bardstown, and I don't know if you're ever here, but we do something. In fact, is it okay if I tell them about the creativity cupboard a little bit, Amy?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, this is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of like blessings boxes, but the Bardstown City Council has, they're pretty much food boxes, you know, like they're around town. And if somebody's got something to give or somebody needs something, they go to these boxes and they might contribute boxes of cereal and milk and things like that, or they might go take out boxes of cereal and milk and things like that. Well, in Bardstown, we have something called a creativity cupboard, which is the same kind of idea, except what we put in it are art supplies. So you can maybe go to our creativity cupboard on one day and there'll be Ziploc bags and they've got little sets of things that are about Egyptian art. In fact, I think I've got one. I'll be right back.
Guys, I am not ignoring all your questions and stuff, and we'll get to those, I promise. I see a lot of comments and questions going on. So we'll get to those in a little bit, guys.
So like what I'm holding up here is just a plastic bag full of stuff, but it's the only thing I had up close. But I love Egyptian art. I think it's magnificent. And so this is just a bunch of coloring sheets, but just coloring sheets, there's no such thing. Coloring sheets are wonderful. So like you might get something like this and you would see different kinds of patterns and things that would be from Egypt. This one also has hieroglyphics. So it shows you how to write your name in hieroglyphics. You know what, Amy, I should send you this and you should have everybody make their own cartouche.
Oh, yeah.
See, they could make their own nameplate like this with an Egyptian alphabet with hieroglyphics. So, but anyway, I digress. That's the kind of things we have at the creativity cupboard. So people will come and pick them up and they'll take them home and they'll do them. Or sometimes I'll see people sitting on the street on a bench and they'll have something that we put in the creativity cupboard and they're playing with it. And we feel like that art feeds the spirit. Like doing art makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel calmer. It makes you feel more relaxed. It makes you curious about how something's going to turn out. It's a very, very special kind of experience to me. Pause. So Amy, is there anything I should, I saw somebody flipped up here and said something about they had their own hieroglyphics.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Let me go back up here. There are questions. Okay, so how long have you been doing art? That's one of the first questions.
Forever. I mean, really, always. I was drawing Mickey Mouse when I was a little kid or something like that. But I'm doing portraits of people now. I'm doing I've done art my whole life.
Then we have another one that says, does your studio include sculpting?
Not much because of the well, occasionally I'll have somebody who loves clay. So I'll get clay. I don't have a kiln up here or a potter's wheel, although at the very beginning I did. But I'm just, as you saw, I walked you through 3 rooms. But sometimes I'll have people who they really, really want to do something with clay. And I'll take them to the middle room where I'm sitting right now. And they'll have a big table, and they'll maybe take a rolling pin, they'll roll out clay, and they'll make something of it. I'm going to show them my clay, my mask, Amy. I'm going to try to tell me if I get that correct or not. But this is made out of clay, and
oh yeah, we can see that. Perfect.
can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, it's my face about 20 years ago, but all around it are little animals, because I thought it would be cool to have totem animals. So I've got, I don't know if you can anybody identify any of them?
Go ahead. You can turn on your camera or turn on your mics, guys, or just throw them in the chat real quick. Let me see. 60 minutes.
Let me hold it up there. Let me ask you a
A
question.
fox. I have a fox.
Yes.
A sphinx. Oh no, she made it. Okay, wolf, fox, horse, and a snake.
Yes.
A turtle. Yeah, a snake.
Yes.
I think that's. Oh, an owl.
And an owl. There's also a hawk, and there's a Rottweiler down at the bottom. There's an otter. All of those animals, I picked all those animals out because they all mean something to me. They all have some sort of symbolism. They are all like a wolf is a teacher in the world of Native American mythology. So I think I'm a teacher. More than anything else, I'm probably a teacher. And so that's why I have a wolf. But that's just one example of sculpture. But that's the only one I think I had right here.
It's okay, so we have a bunch of questions. What made you become an artist?
It's really that's a good question. I think what in the end made me become an artist was it made me feel good to do it. It made me, I know that I'm going to say this, whether it sounds right or not, but I'm pretty smart. I did really well in school. And so I had a lot of other things that I studied that I liked, but I love the way that making something artistic, and I include writing poetry too, or writing stories, or writing journals. I think that making art and writing are things that really gave me joy. They made me feel good. But when I was going to college, my dad said to me, he said, you're not going to ever be able to make a living at this. You better get a teaching certificate. You better become a teacher. And I thought, who wants to be a teacher? Forget that. But I did go on and do it because I love my dad and I wanted to make him happy. And so when I did my student teaching, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so I felt like that's where I needed to be. I needed to be someplace where I could do art and I could share that with people. Long answer. There you are.
That was a good answer. Let's see. Was it hard to draw at first?
Yes, it is. As far if you mean, was it hard to make things look exactly like what they're supposed to be? But everybody can draw, and everybody can learn how to make things look exactly like what they're supposed to be if they've got some help and guidance. Do not fall into the trap of thinking somebody else can do it and you can't, because everybody can. It's a bag of tricks, isn't it, Amy?
Yes, you're exactly right.
It really is.
We have, what is your favorite thing about making a piece of art?
Sometimes it goes places I don't think it's going to. You know, like I'll start out a painting or I'll start out like that sculpture. And the more I worked with it, the more ideas I got about it. And it kind of made me, I had this whole conversation inside my own head, which is a place I am a lot. And I loved figuring it out, and I love being in charge of it. I liked being able to make it whatever I wanted to do with it. Maybe that's it. Doesn't hurt when somebody tells you your work's good too. You know, we call it in my studio, we say, we love the I did it feeling. It's like you finish something and you go, my gosh, I did that. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? And, you know, everybody's always telling you kind of to be humble, and you shouldn't be a braggart or but you should give yourself credit for the things that you do that are good. You should be able to look at something and go, you know, I drew this flower and I'm telling you, it looked exactly like I wanted it to. I got a color I never thought I would be able to mix just with my crayons. I put these 3 colors together and then I added this, and man, it looked really good. That's just something I think.
No, that's really good. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the creative processes too. Like, I think these kids love that kind of stuff. Let's see. I have another question. We'll have a bunch, but do you have a favorite artist or an inspiration?
My favorite artist, probably, I don't know. I've never really had, I call it sort of the artist of the week, but here's something I'm going to say, and no offense, guys, but when I was in college and I took art history and I was studying about art, there were no women in the book, literally. I mean, I'm old, I'm 76 years old. So that is back a while, but you know, it made me really curious about the women who did art. And so I really do like I love Artemisia Gentileschi. I love Mary Cassatt. I love Georgia O'Keeffe. Those are the 3 women you're going to hear about right off the top every time when anybody talks about women artists. But about 30 years ago in Washington, D.C., they started a museum called the National Museum for Women in the Arts. And it started to promote the art of women because it wasn't there in museums. And a lot of women never had the chance to become artists. So I spend a lot of time like really concentrating on the women who do art. But having said that, there's a Mexican muralist called Diego Rivera that I think is absolutely amazing. You may have heard of Frida Kahlo. I don't know if you have or not, but that was his wife twice, actually, because they got a divorce in between. But she's the woman that you see pictures of, the Mexican artist that has like a unibrow. And she does beautiful work too. But her husband, Diego Rivera, did these wonderful murals all over Mexico. And he's one of my favorites. And I also love an Italian Renaissance artist called Botticelli, and on and on and on and on and on. What was the second part of that question?
It was what, so your inspiration.
My inspiration is, I like to paint memories, whether it's for me or for somebody else. I'm gonna show them my warehouse, okay, Amy?
Oh yeah.
Okay. This is a memory, not of mine because I wasn't born yet, but I have this big painting in my studio that is behind me now. Let me see. Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, that's a tobacco warehouse in Lebanon, Kentucky in 1920. But all of the people in it are people that I know. Instead of putting the original people in it, I put my family members, I put people who were friends of mine, I put people who
That's
were,
great.
what was that?
So that is great right there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was really a lot of fun to do because I kept everybody, I made them look like it was 19 and 20, the clothes that they wear. But some of the people that I put in here, I put in there 2 or 3 times. Like I put my father in there when he was young, and I put my mother and my father in there when he was old. I put in the middle, you'll see this really, really impoverished looking little boy. And that's my uncle. And the one beside him, the grown up, that's him too, but that's when he was grown up. So a lot of times the things that I paint, they're about a memory. And I see, while I'm looking at this, I don't know if you can see the painting up at the top or not, but this is a painting of mules, and it's a painting of my siblings and I when we were children. So, and we're on the farm. So I came from a farm, as you could probably tell by the way I talk and the way that the things I paint too. And one more, this is another inspiration, but this is a painting. Let me see if I can get,
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
okay. And that's a painting of my uncle when he was young and he was thinking about things and apparently lost in thought. And when I found this really old photograph, can you see the woman in it, Amy?
Yes, we can.
All right. I didn't even see her when I saw the photograph at first because the photograph was so old and so faded, and she was just barely there. But when I really looked at it, it looked like she was thinking too. So I thought, man, that's a lot to think about. So those are a couple of things that inspire me. Sometimes I get inspired because I feel real strongly about something. So I have a whole series of paintings about the Vietnam War because that was my era.
How long do you think it took you to make that painting with the memories and stuff of your family and all that?
In the tobacco warehouse, the one in the tobacco warehouse, it's not done. And I would say that each person probably takes, I don't know, a couple hours, something like that. But then, I keep adding people. I keep trying to think of, from time to time, I'll put somebody else in it. Or in the very back of that painting, there's a doorway, and it looks like somebody's getting ready to walk out of it. And, that'll be the last painting, last person I paint in that I'll put by the door.
That's a good question, Landon. Thank you. We have another question. What's a struggle that you have or a pet peeve? And then it's from Celine, and she says, I struggle with anatomy and struggle with drawing faces. I practice still, but human faces are complex and compared to drawing realistic animals and still different styles of art. So I guess what is a pet peeve or a struggle?
Well, I want to comment about yours because I think because I taught art a long time, a lot of mistakes are predictable. Human faces are the hardest not because the shapes are hard, but they're hard because a little mistake shows up. If you make a little mistake with an animal or a place, nobody knows really. But if you make a little mistake with a drawing that you're doing of your mother, everybody's going to look at it and they're going to go, Mom looks like she's cross-eyed or something like that. So it is honestly just doing it again and again and again. There are also some guidelines that you can use, like there's a lot of predictable things about a face, like your face. Like if I draw any of you, the ones whose faces I can see, if I draw one eye, then I know that the other eye is going to be one eye width away from it. There's that much space in between. The measurements are really predictable. Once you get one eye drawn correctly, you put the other one in the middle. You put a space in the middle that's the same width. I mean, things like that help a lot. Also, if you've got an artist friend who looks at it, like you'll look at it and you'll go, something's wrong with the mouth, but I can't figure it out. Somebody else can bring that in, could look at it and they'll go, I think that, I think the lips are too big. Or like a common mistake that people make when they do portraits is they give everybody model lips. They make everybody look like they've got lipstick on, and they put lip liner around it. They outline everything too much. And your lips don't really have edges unless you emphasize that with color. So I guess I'm jumping around on that, but those are pieces of advice about drawing a face that they're predictable. They happen to a lot of people. And, like for example, hold your hand up, Amy. All right. Your hand is the same size as your face. Okay. Thank you. You can put it down now. But it's so, that gives you an idea of ways to measure things. Another thing that you can do is, did you say, was it Selena?
It's Celine. Yeah.
Celine. Okay. And like you said, proportion, like arms and legs aren't hard to draw. They're just hard to get the right size compared to each other. So again, there's a predictable measurement. Everybody has your feet are as big as this bone in your arm, that outside bone in your arm, your ulna. So there are things like that you could go back and you can check after you've drawn. My biggest challenge, I guess, in doing art, actually, I don't remember. I have drawn for so long and I have had so many things I couldn't do. And then finally I got to where I could do them, that it sounds like I'm being really haughty, but the more you do things, the better you get. And I think my biggest challenge, and it's kind of a pet peeve too, is that people that I try to teach don't believe that they can do something. They think I'm trying to make them feel good. They think I'm trying to, that I'm not being straight with them or honest with them when I say, oh, you can do that. Really, you can. They think, well, that's your job. You're supposed to be able to say that to me. But, and that's a pet peeve I have. And I talk about it ever so often.
Well, that's a good one though, because people, if you think you can't, you can't. Don't put yourself in a box.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, guys, what other questions do you have for Miss Spalding? We just have a couple more minutes. What is it? Okay, well, you kind of touched on this, but what is one thing you tell someone that's starting to draw?
Draw a lot.
Yeah.
Draw a lot, and just keep on doing it. That's probably the most important thing. And things pop up and I see part of it, but it looks like somebody said something about don't compare yourself to other people. Absolutely. That's a good piece of advice. Whoever said that.
That's Marley. She did. Yeah.
Good on you. Because, there's always going to be people that are better than you. And there's always going to be people that you're better than. But probably one of the greatest gifts I received somewhere when I got my genetic makeup is that I'm happy for other people who get to be better than me. It makes my heart feel good that Amy can do something better than I can after I've taught her for a while or after I've been around her for a while. I don't feel bad because she's better objectively. And I think a lot of people have to work on that, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of jealousy or competition that comes into play.
Yeah. And it really gets in your way. It really does. I don't care if you're talking about playing basketball or drawing portraits or writing poetry. There's always somebody who's going to be more successful than you are. So what?
When you first started drawing, because not everyone thinks like that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
People when they first do something, they think of other people and they compare themselves a lot. How did you get to a point where you didn't, or were you just always like that?
No, I wasn't always like that. I mean, I always, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of I have two answers to that, I guess. One of them is, I just really wanted to be good at it, so I kept on doing it. And after a while, I didn't really care what people said as much, but that takes a long time. That just doesn't happen when you're 15. It probably won't, but I mean, I guess really everything I'm going to say that's an answer would sound sort of like a cliche, but they're cliches because they're true. Don't pay attention to somebody who puts you down, or if somebody compares their work to yours and says something about it, ignore it. You'll get to a point where you will be suddenly one day it's like you don't care, and I used to, this is a little off the subject, but I used to complain about what people were willing to pay for things because I do commission work. And one day it just struck me that I didn't really care anymore whether somebody liked my work or not. If they don't want to pay $500, they don't have to. They just, I'll go, somebody else will. And once I started to feel that way, it was really true. I mean, I didn't care anymore. And there were other people who did it. So I don't know if that's a very good answer or not, but that's what I would say about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of the attitude you all have to have too. So don't get offended, don't get offended by things.
Yeah, a lot of times when somebody criticizes your drawing or your hair or your weight or whatever it is, there's something else going on with them that's making them say that. That it's for some reason some people feel better if they can feel better than somebody else in something. If they think their hair is prettier or their, I don't know, it stuff like this is hard. This is just life, but believe in yourself and persevere. And Amy, invite them all, tell them where the studio is. And when you come back to class, I'll give you business cards and you can share with people if you want to. They can come. I'm not trying to get business because I've got more. I've got a waiting list. I don't need it. I don't need business. But I would love for you to come and visit my studio and see what I do. And if you do, bring some of your artwork. Like, I know some people were saying things like, I did this drawing or I did that. I'd love to see what you did. And
yeah, we could totally do that. I mean, we do in-person events, so we could make one to where we can come and see your studio in Bardstown.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I'd love to.
Yeah, I think that would be great. What do you all think? I mean, oh yeah, we have a lot of them saying, "Oh yeah, I'd love that. Let's go." So they're doing really good. Yeah.
Come to beautiful downtown Bardstown.
Oh yeah, we did that once on a virtually. We went to the old Bardstown Village and a couple of things, but that would be fantastic. Okay, yeah, Gracie is like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Yes, Celine, please do. Okay, I need to get your website so I can show that to them, I guess.
Okay, it's www.studio2downtown.com.
Okay, and I'll write that and I'll put that in the chat right here. Okay, perfect. Okay, guys.
And, wait a minute, let me give you another one.
Oh yeah.
If they do the Facebook, if they want, if anybody is on Facebook, you could give them my Facebook. You've got that, and I can invite them to upstairs, and they can see the current people who are in my studio, including you.
Okay.
I mean, that's not so much on my website, and that's up to you. I don't know what the protocol is on all that.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. I'll do that too. Give them your face. Okay, I'll put all that in there together. Okay, guys, is there anything else that you want to say before I guess our time is over? Anything else, guys? Okay, Celine is saying thank you. They're starting to say thank you. No, I was so excited for this. Thank you. And then Emily says, you're so pretty and have a good day. And Lexi Thank you for speaking about all the art in your studio, letting us see the art space. It was beautiful. Thank you for speaking with us. So they just like, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Miss Spalding. We really appreciate it.
Okay, doke. And I'll see you Thursday night, if not before.
Oh, yes,
When you
ma'am.
come